welcome to Medellin, Colombia. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys 15 things that you must do while here in this incredible city. Now, I've been fortunate enough to visit Medellin on 3 different occasions, and all of them for several weeks. So I have a pretty good understanding of the city and some of the sites that you need to visit before leaving. So let me not take up too much more time, and let's just jump into the video. We're going to be kicking off today's adventure here in Medellin in the back of an Uber. Taking an Uber or a taxi ride across any brand new city in a brand new country is something spectacular. I love doing this whenever I arrive to a brand new city because it allows me to get somewhat familiar with the area, and it allows me to view everything that's going around me from a pretty safe location. Sitting in the back of an Uber is a nice way to go around and start feeling a bit comfortable before you really start jumping into the adventure and start walking into places like the city center here in Medellin. I definitely recommend hopping into a taxi, order yourself an Uber, and break yourself in the right way, and I promise you are going to enjoy it. Now on to the next recommendation. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and visit La Comuna 13 here in Medellin. La Comuna 13 is extremely iconic here in Medellin because for many years it was in fact one of the most dangerous barrios in the entire world. This part of Medellin was completely ran by narcos and drug trafficking throughout the 1980s and 1990s, which brought a lot of crime to this community. Now, over the years, it's undergone some drastic changes, and right now, La Comuna 13 is by far one of the most vibrant areas in the city and definitely a place worth visiting. I've made my way here several times, and every visit is very unique as the community continues to evolve and change. I definitely recommend stopping by here for at least a nice afternoon, especially on the weekends, as the streets are filled with vibrant street performers and dancers, and it's the perfect way to bring in the evening. The next recommendation on today's list is to make sure and visit Parque Arvi. Parque Arvi is only located about a half an hour from El Poblado in Medellin, so it's fairly easy to access both by car and by public transportation. I highly recommend taking the metro, as the metro ride only takes about 25 minutes and it brings you to a cable car that actually brings you up to Parque Arvi. Now, the cable car and entrance to the park costs 10,600 pesos, so around $3 US. Not bad at all. Once you're in here, you'll have so many different trails to choose from, so many different waterfalls to look at, and an incredible green space to get some nice fresh air after being in the big city of Medellin for a few days. Definitely recommend checking out Parque Arvi. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and take a day trip or several day trip to Guatepe, which is only located about 2 hours away from the beautiful city of Medellin. Here you're gonna find a beautiful town tucked in between a valley that is just so vibrant, so colorful, and it's also home to one of the largest rocks in the entire world. This pueblo is honestly a great place to go, hang out, escape the big city, and just get lost with nature. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and pay a visit to the Piada del Penol. We're actually sitting on these stairs right now, climbing all the way up to the top of this beast of a rock, and I must say, the views from up here are absolutely stunning. Now, this rock actually only lies about 15 minutes away from the small, beautiful town of Guatepe and only 2 hours away from Medellin. Coming here to the Piada del Penol makes for an absolute great day trip from Medellin, but it also makes for a great place to come and hang out for a few days as well. As you climb up these 700 steps to the very top, your eyes are just gonna be in love with the 360-degree panoramic views that you get of the Guatepe Reservoir. You definitely need to come to the Piada del Penol. The next recommendation on today's guide is taking us up here on this little mountain top to a place called Mirador de las Palmas. The Mirador de las Palmas is a famous lookout and extremely iconic here in Colombia. It gives you an incredible 360-degree panoramic view of the city of Medellin, and the locals absolutely love this spot. It doesn't matter what time of day you head up to the Mirador de las Palmas, there will always be people there having beers, drinking a coffee, and enjoying the beautiful view of Medellin. Now, getting up to the Mirador is extremely easy. You can take a taxi or an Uber, and it only costs about 5,000 pesos, so $1.50 for the 15-minute ride up top of the mountain. Definitely recommend checking out Mirador de las Palmas. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and visit Messiah Hostel, which is located right in the middle of the El Poblado neighborhood here in Medellin. The Messiah Hostel facility is a must visit for many different reasons, but by far the most important is the rooftop bar. Here at Messiah Hostel, they have a rooftop bar with a swimming pool and a jacuzzi and a 3 different platform terrace overlooking the entire city of Medellin. I highly recommend coming out here and visiting on Fridays and Saturdays, as the nightlife and the parties that they throw here at this hostel are absolutely insane, and the beautiful view that you get during the night of the entire city from up here is unreal. Definitely make sure to check out Messiah Hostel. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and check out the Botanical Garden of Medellin. This Botanical Garden is absolutely massive, and it definitely takes a couple hours to explore thoroughly. Now, one of my favorite parts about the Botanical Garden is that it's actually located in the heart of the city, right next to the city center, and it's very easily accessible. It cost us only roughly $3 to make it here from the Poblado area of the city, and the Botanical Garden also sits right off the metro line, so you can literally access this park from anywhere in the city. On to the next recommendation. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and pay a visit to the city center of Medellin. Here is where you're gonna find a lot of the historic architecture and also many of the incredible street vendors selling everything from fresh pineapple to chicken and other local dishes. I highly recommend coming out to the center, but please do be very careful because this part of the city is considerably dangerous. I wouldn't recommend bringing any belongings, and definitely don't be using a camera like I am. On to the next recommendation. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and pay a visit to Barrio Pablo, which is located only about 20 minutes outside of the city center of Medellin. This neighborhood in this region of the city was completely funded by Escobar during his run for presidency here in Colombia in the late 1980s. Here he built over 1,000 homes with his own personal money, and the people here in this community absolutely love him, which is quite a contrast from the rest of Colombia. I definitely recommend stopping by here for at least an hour to walk around, take some pictures, interact with the locals, see what they have to think about this man, and enjoy the experience for your own. On to the next recommendation. The next recommendation is to make sure and take a cable car while in the city of Medellin. Here in the city, there are several cable cars located typically at the end of the metro lines. 2 of my favorite are the ones heading to Parque Arvi and the other at the San Javier station. These cable cars range in price, but most of them are only 2,000 pesos, which is how much it costs for a public ride on the public transportation. Now, Parque Arvi has a really cool cable car. This one here is 10,000 pesos, but it lasts a cool 15 minutes and the views are incredible. It takes you to the outskirts of the city, and it is amazing to see how drastic the landscapes change in a matter of minutes. Definitely recommend checking out Parque Arvi. The next recommendation on today's guide is definitely gonna have to be to dive into the local cuisine. The local Colombian food is absolutely delicious, and some of my favorite plates are known as bandejas here in this country. One of the most traditional plates in Medellin by far is the bandeja paisa, which is a large plate that includes beans, rice, usually 2 or 3 different kinds of meat, avocado, and an arepa. It is extremely massive but extremely traditional, so I definitely recommend diving into at least one bandeja paisa while in the country. However, if you're not really into a plate that is so big and filling, I definitely recommend trying a local restaurant and picking up some nice scrambled eggs with an arepa and cheese. It's very, very basic, but something that the Colombians absolutely love. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and enjoy the nightlife here in Medellin. Medellin is known for its nightlife. It's known for its clubs, its parties, and they go on till about 5 a.m. Now, don't get me wrong, right now things are a little bit slow because of the pandemic and everything else going on in the world. However, it is still nothing short of amazing and definitely something you need to experience. If you came to Medellin and didn't experience the nightlife, you definitely missed out. The next recommendation is going to be to definitely dive into the street food scene here in Medellin, Colombia. In Medellin, street food can be found absolutely everywhere, and it is definitely the best way to find yourself mixed in with the culture and learning about the local way of life. One of my favorite areas for street food in Medellin is definitely in the center of the city, as that's where you're gonna find a lot of people with their carts propped up against the side selling everything from micheladas to meat on skewers. There is such a huge variety in street food here in Colombia, and it is definitely something worth dabbling in. The next recommendation on today's guide is to make sure and catch a street performer at a red light. Here in Medellin and all around Colombia, you can catch street performers just like this gentleman right behind me, putting on shows for people as they wait for the light to go from red to green. Definitely an incredible experience and something worth doing. Here's a little clip. Hey. Anyways, that's gonna wrap up today's guide. I hope you enjoyed those 15 things that you must do here in Medellin, Colombia. Please, if you manage to make it here and find something that the people must know about, don't be selfish, don't hold back. Add it to the comment section of this video so that people like me and you don't miss out on something amazing here in Medellin, Colombia. As always, guys, please remember to smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a few days for another incredible series from the country of Venezuela.
You were always smarter. I was the one to tell.